Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into the foundations, aren't we? We're looking at self-esteem, achievement, vulnerability, basically how we figure out our place in the world.
Exactly. And the source material we're drawing on, it really pushes back against some common ideas about success and, well, where self-worth actually comes from.
It really does. It starts with this kind of central mystery, doesn't it? Where does self-esteem originate? Because, we often link achievement directly to smarts, to intelligence.
Right. But the data suggests well, it's only part of the picture. Intelligence only explains a smaller fraction of the huge differences you see in what people accomplish. There's something else going on.
Something big missing. And these sources argue that a huge piece is self-esteem. Not like arrogance, but that quiet inner feeling.
Yeah, that sense of, yeah, this might happen for me, or even just, okay, I could probably handle this.
That fundamental belief you can be in charge, not just reacting to things.
Exactly. Not just navigating obstacles someone else put there, but actually feeling you could maybe build something yourself. And the surprising thing is where that initial spark comes from.
It's not always internal, is it? The sources point heavily towards external factors,
Yeah.
like where you grew up.
Yeah, let's dive into that. Section 1 really highlights the influence of class, of your socioeconomic background.
Okay.
So for someone, say, from a working class background, there's often this deep-seated feeling that the world is run by other people. Your job is just to kind of negotiate the roadblocks they set up.
You don't feel like you're one of the people who gets to make the rules or build the roads.
Precisely. It limits your sense of agency, right? Whereas a more typical middle-class upbringing might just naturally give you this feeling that, hey, people like me, we make the world work.
That's a massive difference in starting perspective.
Huge. And it boosts self-esteem almost automatically. The sources even give this funny little anecdote
Oh, yeah.
about seeing relatives, maybe ones you find slightly annoying.
Huh. We all have those.
Right. And you see them in these positions of power, like in the treasury or the civil service, people you saw eating cereal at the kitchen table.
And suddenly the giants running the world seem, well, less giant.
Exactly. It shatters the illusion. If Uncle Barry can do it, maybe the world isn't run by infallible gods after all. It makes things seem possible for you, too.
It levels the field in your mind. And, technology kind of does that now, too, doesn't it? We get these constant close-up glimpses of powerful people.
It humanizes them, yeah, whether they intend it or not. Which leads perfectly to this idea the source calls the yogurt lid moment.
The yogurt lid moment. Okay, tell me more.
Imagine you finally meet this author you've revered for years. A real intellectual titan in your eyes, and what do you see them doing?
Let me guess. Something deeply profound.
Nope. Peeling back the lid of a yogurt pot and licking it clean.
Ah, okay, I get it. That very normal, very human little act.
It just breaks the spell instantly. You see the fallible human being.
And that's important because as kids, adults do seem like gods, right? They can do magic things like speak French or understand calculus.
They seem like colossi. It takes such a long time to internalize that they're just people. Complicated, sometimes messy people who worry about silly things too.
We need those yogurt lid moments to really grasp that everyone's just muddling through.
Yeah. And that brings us nicely into section 2, this whole issue of self-doubt and why it's so hard to feel consistently okay about ourselves. It's about data, or the lack of it.
An imbalance of data. How so?
Well, think about the data stream you have on yourself. It's constant, internal, high definition. You know all your weird thoughts, your embarrassing moments, your secret doubts.
Like agonizing for hours over buying a pair of shoes when you should be thinking about, I don't know, your mortgage.
Exactly. That full, unedited, internal chaos. But what data do we get from others?
Just the outside stuff, what they choose to show us. Their highlights reel.
Their curated feed, essentially. Yeah. So you compare your internal blooper reel to their external greatest hits.
And you assume you must be uniquely messed up.
Precisely. Which leads to what the source calls the paradox of weirdness. We tend to think the people we know best, family, partners, are somehow crazier than everyone else.
But really, we just have more data on them. If we saw everyone else's internal monologue,
we'd realize everyone's just as mad. Intimacy grants us access to the complexity, that's all.
Okay, so that connects to imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
That feeling you're a fraud and about to be found out.
Yes, and we usually talk about imposter syndrome like it's purely negative, something to get rid of.
But the sources here suggest maybe it's not.
They reframe it. Feeling like an imposter, while painful if extreme, is actually a sign of honesty. Of self-awareness. You're aware you might not have all the answers, that you have flaws.
That's a really interesting take. The quote is something like, Knowing you might be evil makes you good, because truly evil people don't worry about it.
That's the one. It shows you're capable of self-scrutiny. The challenge is moving from seeing the flaws to accepting them without constant anxiety.
And this connects to why being alone too much can be, well, difficult. That vast internal landscape needs some external input.
It does. Our thoughts can just spiral without any friction from the outside world. Other people kind of hold us in check.
To give us a shake.
Yeah, exactly. Alone, you can feel like this formless blob of consciousness. Others reflect back a version of you, maybe a simplified, caricatured version, but it's functional, gives you a story to work with, a defined self.
Okay, so we need that external grounding, which leads to section 3. How do we actually figure out what we're good at? Our vocation. It's not just thinking, is it?
No, definitely not. You have to, as the source puts it, bounce against the world, test yourself against reality.
Confidence comes from doing things, small things.
Tiny things. Successfully writing a clear email, hitting a tennis ball just right. These small successes build up. It's like being an archaeologist of yourself.
Archaeologist, I like that. Digging for buried pieces of who you really are.
Exactly. Your true self maybe got shattered or buried by expectations and life demands. So now you need this mental metal detector.
Listening for little beeps.
Little beeps. Moments of sudden interest, intensity, focus. Those signal a fragment of something authentic buried under the surface.
And this is where envy comes in. That emotion we're taught to be so ashamed of.
Right. We see envy as purely toxic, but the sources say, hang on, that beep of envy? That's often a really strong clue.
A clue to what?
It might be pointing towards a piece of your own ambition that you see playing out in someone else's life. Instead of just feeling bad, you need to analyze it.
Ask, what exactly am I envious of here?
Precisely, because often we envy the whole package, the fame, the money, whatever, when actually it's just one specific element that resonates.
Like maybe they work with their hands, or they live somewhere quiet, or they seem to manage their time well.
Exactly. Dissect it. Don't let it make you feel inadequate. Use it as data. What part of that life is calling to your unlived life?
That's a much more constructive way to look at it. Okay, shifting gears to section 4, dealing with criticism and vulnerability. When someone criticizes you, well, they're right.
Oof, yeah. That's the worst kind, isn't it? When you know you messed up, you hurt someone through carelessness, that feeling sinks you.
How do you recover? Self-forgiveness seems key, but also really hard.
Almost impossible to do alone, the sources argue. Your inner critic is just too loud, too harsh. You need external help. You need a loving audience. True friends. Someone who can act like that confessional, who can look at you knowing you did wrong, but see through it with the eyes of love.
And say, okay, you messed up, but your heart's fundamentally good. You can move on. That kind of spiritual charity.
Exactly, which is incredibly hard to give yourself. And this need for validation, for understanding, it can be especially complex territory for men.
Because of how masculinity is often constructed, this idea of having to be strong, to leave the feminine camp of childhood dependency behind.
Yeah, that pressure, boys teasing each other, you throw like a girl, that kind of thing. It builds this sense that masculinity is precarious, something you have to constantly perform and defend.
Which can make vulnerability feel threatening.
Hugely. And it leads to this paradox the sources point out. The most admirable, maybe the best men, are often those who've been broken by life in some way.
Broken? How so?
Forced by failure or loss or illness to drop the tough guy act. They've hit bottom and had to admit, I need help, I can't cope.
And that forced vulnerability opens up a deeper humanity.
Often, yes. Real empathy can emerge from that. But then you get the other side of the paradox.
Which is?
Men might want society to accept their vulnerability, but they often really struggle to receive or tolerate weakness from other men.
Why is that? Is it fear of seeing their own cracks reflected back?
That's a big part of it, yeah. It challenges their own carefully constructed facade. Plus, maybe some older evolutionary echoes. You want your allies, your coalition partners, to seem strong and reliable, not emotionally fragile.
It makes us uneasy, which ties into this idea of the sadistic impulse. Not just in a sexual sense, but psychologically.
Right, the impulse to take your own pain and turn it outwards, to make someone else suffer because you're suffering.
Like passing the parcel with pain.
Exactly that phrase from the source, pass the parcel with our suffering. And the argument is that all meanness is basically inherited. It gets passed down.
Even from parent to child. Like
Right.
resenting a child for having an easier life than you did.
Yes. Resenting their emotional privilege, their perceived softness, because you never had that. So you punish them for the lack of suffering you perceive in them. It's a dark cycle.
Wow. Okay, let's move to section 5. Redefining what significant means. Why is this intense drive for fame or external validation seen as maybe not healthy?
Because fundamentally, it's often compensation. If you felt invisible or unimportant as a child, you might develop this massive need to be seen and acclaimed by strangers later on.
It's filling a hole left from childhood.
Pretty much. Visibility becomes equated with survival and worth, which leads to this counterintuitive idea.
That being okay with an ordinary life is actually the real achievement.
It's a massive achievement. Being content without needing constant applause or the spotlight. That usually means you got enough validation early on. You felt like a superstar child, so you don't need the whole world to tell you you're okay as an adult.
So the constant need for external importance is more like a symptom.
A symptom of a deficiency, yeah. Not necessarily a sign of robust health. And we're just terrible at valuing our own small joys, aren't we?
Terrible accountants of our own joy, I think the phrase was. We only count the big things.
Yeah. Marriage, promotion, the huge sale.
We almost feel ashamed to admit that, a really good cup of coffee or a moment of quiet sunshine actually made us deeply happy.
Like it reveals how small our lives are if small things please us.
We've got it totally backwards. The real skill is harvesting profound satisfaction from the smallest things. But we're so easily led by external markers, prizes, fame, what other people think is important.
We're supine and dumb in deciding what matters. That's the rather blunt phrasing, yes. True creativity, the sources suggest, isn't just about inventing something new. It's having the courage to trust your own sense of what's interesting or pleasurable.
Like the kid ignoring the fancy playground to study a weed growing through the pavement because that's what genuinely fascinates them.
Exactly. Trusting your own neglected thoughts, as Emerson put it. Geniuses often just have the confidence to value the quiet insights the rest of us dismiss.
Okay, fascinating. Finally, section 6. Love and compatibility. Modern dating gets it wrong.
The sources argue it massively misleads us. We think the primary challenge is finding the perfect person, the one.
And the whole red flag culture,
Mm-hmm.
if you spot a flaw, you're encouraged to just move on.
Right. It breeds this sort of ingratitude, this reluctance to actually do the work involved in a real relationship.
Because compatibility isn't the starting point.
It's the achievement of love, not its precondition. That's the killer line.
Love that. So since anyone we partner with will have flaws,
Because we're all flawed humans. The real task isn't finding someone flawless, it's learning how to navigate the inevitable problems with the person you choose. It takes practice, daily practice,
like learning an instrument. And a key skill is handling conflict.
de-escalating it. Recognizing arguments are almost always driven by fear underneath the surface issue.
It's not really about the teacup left out, is it?
Rarely. It's about feeling unloved or disrespected or scared. The trick is to become a good diplomat in your relationship, meaning you get skilled at delivering difficult truths gently, at seeing past the defenses to the underlying fear. Using softening language, from my perspective, maybe it feels like perhaps we could. Never absolute statements.
Dropping the tension by acknowledging the fear.
Yes. Naming the fear, I'm scared you don't love me, or I worry I'm not important to you, that changes everything. Vulnerability invites vulnerability.
It breaks the deadlock. Realizing you're both just scared humans in a muddle.
Exactly. We ditch too many potentially good relationships because we think we've found the one uniquely awful person instead of realizing we've just found a normal person whose specific issues require specific navigation skills.
Which brings us right back around. Okay, so the core takeaway for you listening. Self-esteem is complex, built from external permission, internal honesty, even using tricky feelings like envy as a guide. And maybe the biggest success is embracing an ordinary life.
Yeah, and remembering that so many of our adult patterns, our monsters, as Mark Maron put it, were created to protect us as kids.
The monster I created to protect the child inside of me is difficult to manage. That's powerful.
It really is.
So the final thought we want to leave you with is this. Take a look at those patterns. If the coping mechanisms that got you through childhood are now actually limiting you as an adult, what's one small area where you could consciously try something different?
Could you trade striving for fame for deliberate obscurity for a while? Or swap constant humor for a moment of quiet seriousness? Just one small disruption to challenge that old protective monster.
Something to think about. Thank you for diving deep with us today.